In GATE or any competitive exam, you need not worry about finding whether the limit exists or not. For most of the questions, they'll ask you the limit questions only when they exist. So how do you find it out? Simple. If it is a multiple choice question, just look at the options. In the options, if they don't have anything like limit exists or limit does not exist, then go for simply normal application of limits. And how to do that? There are various techniques. I'll just show you one example here, and here we are going to use something called as factorization. You must be already be knowing it. Let's see how to apply it. Let us say the question is like this: limit x tends to 3, assume that it is x power 4 minus 81 divided by x minus 3. If you have something like this, then how are you going to find out the limit? Assuming that in the options we don't have limit does not exist. In the options, let's say we have only the numbers present there. Then how to find it out? See this. If you directly substitute 3 in there, it is going to be 81 minus 81, 3 minus 3, which is going to be 0 by 0. It is a special form. We are going to discuss about it later in the later videos. Or here, what it means is the value does not exist. It is indeterminate. It is not defined. So we just want a value. So in this form, if you try to apply the limit, we are going to get 0 by 0. Therefore, we are supposed to change the form in such a way that we will get some value. So let's use the method called as factorization. See, one simple clue is, whenever you are substituting 3 here, it is giving you 0. Whenever you substitute 3 here, it is giving you 0. What does that mean? It means that x minus 3 is a factor in this as well as in this. It is clearly visible here, but it is not visible here. Therefore, you can use normal division, you can find it out, or I am directly writing it. I think you know that formula, a square minus b square is a minus b into a plus b. I am just using that formula and writing it. So it is x square minus 9 into x square plus 9 divided by x minus 3, and we know that x square minus 9 can be written as x minus 3 into x plus 3 into x square plus 9 divided by x minus 3. Now we can cancel out these two, right? Now we can substitute in place of x 3. Then what do we get? If I substitute in place of x 3, then we get 3 plus 3, right, into 9 plus 9, 6 into 18. So you can simplify it. Okay, so that is how you can solve it. So what I mean to say is, from this example, you need not always find out whether the limit exists or not. Only in the questions where it is required, you apply that method, which means in the options, if you see that whether the limit exists or not is there in the option, then you have to check it. Otherwise, you directly substitute it. In case if it is going 0 0, 0 by 0, I am just directly putting it. Okay, fine. Now let's see one more example of the same kind. Again, I am assuming that in the options they didn't give whether the limit exists at 1 or not. So this is the question: limit x tends to 1, which means they are asking us what happens for this function as we go towards 1. Okay, so this is the question given. Now try to substitute 1 directly and see if the value actually exists there or not. So if you substitute 1 directly here, I get 1 minus 6 plus 11 minus 6. It is nothing but 12 minus 12, which is 0. And here also 1 minus 1, which is 0. So if I directly substitute it that way, I'll be getting 0 divided by 0, which is indeterminate form, right? So what is indeterminate form? I'll discuss about it later. Or simply put, there is no definite value there. So what we wanted is, in most of the applications, we want a definite value, but there is no definite value. In such cases, what are we supposed to do? Simple. So since there is no definite value, only thing that you could do here is convert it into some other form through which we can get the definite value. In most of the cases, it so happens that whenever you have the 0 by 0 form, we could apply some of the techniques and we can get whatever we wanted, that definite value. Okay, so here I am going to use a technique called as factorization. So why factorization is applicable here? Just see this. When I substitute 1 here, it is all becoming 0. It means that x minus 1 is a factor of this. Whenever you substitute 1, x equal to 1, if it is all going to be 0, it means that x minus 1 is a factor of it. Why? Because if this entire thing is going into 0, it means that it can be written as something as x minus 1 into this. Then only when I substitute x equal to 1, this entire thing will become 0. This entire thing will become 0, right? Similarly, here also x minus 1 is a factor of it. Now we know that in both of them x minus 1 is a factor, right? So what you can do is directly try to write both of them as product of x minus 1s, and you can analyze it. Okay, so what I mean to say is like this: you can write this one as x minus 1 into something, and this one also as x minus 1 into something, and then you can cancel out x minus 1 and x minus 1, and later you can find out the value of it. Okay, simply put, what I'm trying to do is like this. So how to find out the how to write this one as x minus 1 into something? Simple. If you can divide it, you do that. If you don't know how to divide it, or if you are looking for a some other simpler way, then simple way is you can build the entire function by using this one as a building block. Just observe this. See, I want to use x minus 1 as a building block, and I want to build this entire function, right? So let me build it term by term. First I want to build x cube. So if I use x, and if I have to build x cube, then I have to multiply it with x square. That is the reason I'll be multiplying this with x square into x minus 1. Now what will it give me? X cube minus x square, isn't it? X cube minus x square. But what do I want? Minus 6x square. But what do I have? Minus x square. Therefore how much do I need? Again minus 5x square. Therefore multiply it with minus 5x and again x minus 1. Then what do I get here? Minus 5x square. Already minus x square is there, therefore it is going to be minus 6x square, right? And what is remaining? Plus 5x. So 5x is remaining here. Here I have 5x and here I have 11x. Now what do I need? Plus 6, isn't it? 6x I need. Therefore plus 6 into x minus 1. Then I get plus 5x plus 6x, which is nothing but 11x. And then here we get minus 6. So already minus 6 is there. Therefore it is complete. So I have written the entire function as if it is like this. So what can I write this one as? I can pull out x minus 1, isn't it? I can pull out x minus 1 and I can write the remaining terms here. What is remaining? X square minus 5x plus 6 divided by, so what should I write here? X square minus 1. I am going to write x square minus 1 is x plus 1 into x minus 1. Now we can cancel out these two. Now you apply limit x tends to 1. If I apply limit x tends to 1, if you just substitute 1 here, then you are going to get probably 1 minus 5 plus 6 divided by 1 plus 1, which is nothing but 7 minus 5. 2 by 2, which is 1. Therefore the answer of this one is 1. So the calculation part is not important. What I wanted to show you is, in exam if they don't ask you about whether it exists or not, don't go for that method. You go for that exists or not method only if they ask you that. If they don't ask you that, don't unnecessarily complicate it. Okay, so directly you can do it using this method. Later I'll discuss about many other methods using which you can do. Fine.